has a lot to share that's really valuable. Just so you know, we do have 3 trainings for you all. So for new instructors, we'll have this afternoon and Tuesday afternoon, if I remember right. And then we bring all of the instructors for first year seminar together on the 4th, so that we can talk about things that affect every class. But we just wanted to give you all a little bit of special time because you are new to this class, and make sure you kind of get the mission that you're on, teaching it, and also kind of learn some of the nuts and bolts behind how it runs before we bring you in with everybody else. So I think a great way to kind of get us started is just to have some introductions so you know who each other are and what role you're playing to be here today. So Lynn, would you like to kick us off?
Lynn Hanshu, Coordinator of Tutoring Services, but I teach 2 of the e-courses, and I have 1 regular FYS course this fall.
Thanks. Go ahead.
I'm Ellen Bowman. I work with Student Support Services, and so I'll be teaching FYS because that's just part of what we do.
This is part of what you do. That's right.
I'm Stephanie Pollock-Clark. I'm Assistant Director in Student Housing. This is my first time teaching an FYS class, so I'm nervous/excited.
Good. Happy to have you.
Deb Winkleman, I'm first time enhanced, and I know Andrew. We used to go to church together. We used to have a youth group together. I'm a retired teacher and Round County School System and here. So I'm coming back in full bloom, I guess. They're trying to learn a whole lot in a short amount of time, right?
I'm Kimberly Thompson, and I'm first time teaching the 101E, and I'm excited about that 2 sections, and I also work with student teachers. And I'm from Carter County, which is where I live, but this is where I went to school, and I've always been an Eagle fan, so, you know, I feel like I'm home. It's nice working with each other.
I'm Melinda Fitch, and I'm also from Carter County. I live over here in Round County now. I work with clinical practice, and I'm a level up person with Lori Couch. And this is my first time teaching a first year reading class. And I'm 3 times an Eagle.
That's great.
I'm Gabriella Sexton. I currently work in the Office of Human Resources, but I used to work with Lori on the academic side of things, and this is my first time actually teaching a course.
But we're thrilled to have you. And you're teaching a special section.
Yes, I am. I'm teaching students who are first generation college students. I'm
Wow.
super excited about that.
That's exciting. That's not.
I'm Leslie Toy, and I currently work in the Alumni Relations Office. I am a retired school administrator from Montgomery County. I live in Montgomery County. I am an alumni of Morehead State University many times. And this is my first year teaching a class. I'm excited, a little nervous, but I'll be working with the Heron students.
My name is Andrew Sexton. I'm a coordinator of service learning at the Center for Experiential Education and
Career development.
Career development and experiential education.
We're gonna get it. I
It
mess
is
it
a
up
lot
all the
to
time.
say.
Every
It's a
time.
mouthful. And this is also the first time I've ever formally taught a class. I do teach at my church, but looking forward to the experience.
And you've been on the job 2 weeks?
Yeah, last Monday.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Trial by fire. We already went to an institute together.
Yeah.
I'm Meg Robbins. I'm new to the area. I'm originally from Illinois, and I was a K-12 admin as well. And I'm moving to Carter County, so that's exciting. And I'm the coordinator of undergrad research, and I'm teaching 2 sections of the E as well. So I'm really excited. I
Also
can't wait.
welcome.
Huh?
Also welcome.
Thank you. It's going well. I do have a lot of family in the area, so it's really been great to get to hang
She's
out
only
with
been
them.
here since May, so.
That's right. A couple months in, we're getting there. We're gonna close on a house on Monday, finally. So
Yay,
I'm
congratulations.
East
Thank
Carter
you.
or West Carter?
Are you on this end?
Grayson or Olive
Are you on the
Great Grayson.
Carter round line?
I'm gonna be in Grayson.
Okay.
Oh.
So,
That matters to the
Yeah.
Carter County folks.
but well, see, all my family. To be fair, I'm sorry. I did. All my family lives in Southern Ohio and Wheelersburg, so it's like
Okay, I
dead
have to
center.
ask. Grayson,
Uh-huh.
have you been to the Hidden Grotto yet
No.
on the lake?
Yes. No. Okay, so I haven't been to it. We have been to the lake several times, and I've been told about the Hidden Grotto.
It is absolutely the most wonderful thing when you get in the middle of it. It is at Grayson Lake, okay. There is, unless you're with someone who knows how to get there, you have to go on a paddleboard or a kayak because
Uh-huh.
you're going between a rock that's in front of another rock and it looks like there's nothing there. You go about 50 feet between them, just wide enough to get your paddleboard through, and it opens up to this hidden grotto where there is a double waterfall, and it is just crazy.
So you're gonna
beautiful.
take me? Is that what's?
I will take you. Yeah. I really.
My
anybody
welcome
who wants
gift?
to go needs to see it because when you get there, you're like, how is this even possible that
That's
this
so
exists?
cool.
Lori, can you schedule
Grayson.
Yeah, retreat.
Oh.
Retreat. Yeah, that's right.
Well, we'll get to this last gentleman here in a second.
Oh, I'm
but-
sorry. I'm
But
sorry.
this right here is what FYS is about.
Yeah.
What she just did, that is what this class is about. So thank
Oh.
you for illustrating exactly what we're gonna need you guys to do. But now, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Xavier Scott. Most of you, I think, know me. I am the Director of Distance Education and Instructional Design. I am an alum of Morehead State University. For the context of what we're doing here, I am the person you'll probably be contacting if there's any kind of technical issues. I have taught this class multiple times online and a few times face-to-face. So I've got a lot of experience behind me. So if you have any questions, I'm the guy.
Awesome. Thank you.
So just a little bit of background about what you're delving into here. So the first year seminar is a major initiative of the university, and it's meant to help us get students oriented not only to campus and to what being a college student is, but also to teach them how to be successful. We have some of our students coming in who are in special groups. So Leslie, like your Hair and Scholars group, that is a leadership program where the students are recruited, one from each county, and given scholarships to come and develop leadership experiences. So she's gonna have a very targeted group. And that is a fantastic program that she will kind of then become the face of for those students, because your first year seminar teacher is the person who kind of like tells you how to do college. So she will become their lead. And as Gabriel mentioned, she'll be doing a class of just first generation college students. She won't have all the first generation students, but she'll have a group that is dedicated to that. So we try, where possible, to kind of pull together students who have common interests, common challenges perhaps, and you know, give them extra attention because of who they are. But for all of our students, the goal is to try and get them as ready as they can be for what is ahead of them for the next several years. You heard several people mention that they are associated with an E-class or a reading class, and that's because we have two different versions of first year seminar. One of the versions is what we refer to as the regular section, which is, it's just straight up first year seminar only. So the students come and they just take that class to learn the student success, orientation to college, how to be best prepared kind of material. But for some of our students, they're coming in underprepared a little bit with their skills. And in particular for the students who are coming in kind of weak in reading, we use this class to help build their reading skills. And when we do that, we have special sections that we put them in called enhanced courses, or E-courses for short. So when somebody is teaching a 101E, they've got students who just need a little extra help in reading. The way those sections work is different from the quote regular ones, because those students will go to class 2 extra hours a week. And during those 2 extra hours, they're going to get the help with their reading. So some of these folks, in fact, these 3 right here and one more, they are the reading support instructors who are the partners to our first year seminar teachers. So they're not really teaching the FYS content, but they're using the FYS content as a tool to help the student beef up their reading skills. So We have about, I want to say 15 or 16 of the sections that are dedicated to students who have those reading challenges, and about 52, I think, of the other sections that don't have the reading piece to it. You will know if you have the reading piece in your class because we've talked to you about that already. So if you don't know about that, it's probably not you, but if you need to clarify with me, feel free to do that. So we've got a lot of different things kind of going on here to talk about. Our focus in this training and the one on Tuesday is really to orient you to the general FYS, the regular part of FYS, not so much to focus on the reading because you all have already met with us to talk about the reading piece. But if you have an E section, we really want you to integrate what's happening in the first year seminar with the reading instruction. So just know that, that's kind of our mission. I think probably the best place to start is just to talk about like what's our mission here, what are we trying to achieve, and why is it so important. And I'll apologize, Gabriel, to you because you've heard me preach about this probably 1,000 times, but I'm very passionate about student success. So yes, I really kind of get into it, and I feel like I just go ahead and get a soapbox out and start saying it up. But it is really important to all of us that the students who are coming to our campus this fall will succeed. It's important to MSU because of our reputation and because of the financial implications. It's important to you because you will care about that student very much when you get to know them. You're going to be rooting for them and you want them to succeed. It's important to that student, of course, because it's the kickoff to their future, right? So we want them to succeed because of that. It's important to our communities because when they succeed, they will take that success back to where they're from and help raise those communities. And they will, get better jobs if they get a college degree, make more money, and all that money will funnel back into the community where they live, and on and on and on. So it's a high stakes thing that we're trying to do. And the first semester, first year of college is where students make or break their future. We want every single student who walks through the door to be successful and to go out there and make that difference, right? But the first year is the place where students are most at risk of dropping out. Nationwide, about 30% of new college students don't make it through the first year. And MSU is not alone in the way that our statistics look. On average, we lose about 30% of our kids too when they start. So this class is engineered to try and buffer that risk as much as possible, to try and equip those students with every tool that they could possibly have so that they won't become the statistic. So we have a syllabus for you. It is in draft form right now because we're tweaking a few things still, but I think hopefully everybody got a copy of that. What you'll see if you look at the last 2 pages is week by week by week, we have topics that we're going to cover that are, again, carefully engineered. Those topics were chosen strictly because they are the things that we know will make a difference to whether a student will get through college or not. So when I say carefully engineered, we didn't just pull them out of a hat. We know that students have gone by the wayside, if you will, because of whatever that topic was in some cases, and we're trying to stop that from happening. So this is a course that teaches students how to be successful, but it's also a course that will stop losses for our institution of those individuals. So just as context, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the class that came in last fall. The 2021 freshmen, basically, right? So they are, they've been through a lot, haven't they? Because they were in high school during COVID. So they lived through the flip to online, the weird social connections that they had to form by being like online with their friends and you know, they've just had probably some learning loss, so they, you know, didn't get all the content that they should have gotten in high school, and they're struggling with mental health, because we've just been in a weird time that's really put a lot of stress on us. So they were probably more at risk than our average class, but then they also had the same old college student stressors that every college student has on top of that. So they are maybe not the best example to talk about, but they're people you know. They're students that are here and that you've probably come in contact with. So I want to use them as just an example. So last year we admitted, well, I will say on November 1st, we had 1,083 students who were considered first-time, full-time students. We started with more than that, but we lost a few before November 1st, okay? But those are considered to be our official cohort, because November 1st is where we take the snapshot, okay? That 1,083 students were taking first-year seminar, okay? And we were building them up and teaching them all the things that we possibly could, but they'd been through a lot, and so they were more at risk than usual. So we have tracked them, we followed them every single week. We check in with them to see how they're doing, are they registered for classes, you know, what issues they have, and so on, and we supported them. Even still, when we looked on Monday this week, which was 3 days ago, to see how many of them are planning to come back, it's less than 70%. So, like, all of our energy, only 70% are coming back. But that's the power of this class. We saved 70%.
Yeah, exactly, right? Think
Yeah.
what it could have been.
What it could have been, yeah. Before we had this class in place, it would have been closer to 60%. But when we put this class in place, it helped us save about another 10%. So the students that are probably most at risk are the ones that we're kind of pulling through with this class. So, I mean, if you think about it, that's 100 students, right? It's 100 students that now get a chance to have a better future because they made it through this class, and that's 100 students who are going to go impact our community. So, I mean, high stakes kind of stuff. But what keeps me up at night is we lost 329 of them. So that's 329 that we didn't set on their course, you know. So our mission, I think, in training you is to help you think about not just the ones that we are training, but what about those ones that are starting to slip through the cracks? As you see them not engaging, as you see them not doing their work, as you see them not showing up to class, we need to come in and put a little extra TLC around them so that they won't be one of those 329 in next year's class. So that's really kind of our mission, is to try and support these students as best we can, even though they've been through tough times. Now, this incoming class, you would think, like, life kind of got back a little more to normal, so maybe they won't be as at risk. The data we have on them does not bear that out. The data that we know about them so far is they are probably more academically underprepared because they've had more semesters of weird school. Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't want to say that, but yeah, I kind of think so.
Yeah.
They've had more semesters of mental health challenge, more semesters of weird social experiences. I think everything tells us that they're going to struggle more. So that just puts a little more pressure on us to kind of build them up. And I would have said, even if we weren't here, like, keep your eagle's eyes on them, because, you know, you're going to have to be the eyes and ears that tell us, okay, this student is, they're in it, they're doing fine, or they're not.
Yeah.
So I think there's some high stakes things we're asking of you. And so I'm really thankful that you're here, thankful that you are participating with us, and that you're going to take on this challenge. And I trust that this team is going to do an amazing job of supporting them. I do want to alert you just generally, though, that even though our class as a whole will have its challenges, there are certain groups of students who are more at risk than others, at least statistically speaking. So we should expect the average student case to lose about 30%, and MSU's right trending on that. But if the student comes from a low-income background, and we classify them that way if they're Pell recipients, Pell Grant recipients, then you should add about 10% more chance of being lost. We usually lose about 40% of them. If they are underrepresented minority students, again, about 10% more likely to lose them. And Gabriel, if they're first generation students, we're about 10% more likely to lose
I'm
them.
gonna help them beat the odds.
Well, I know you will. I know you will. But part of why they're more at risk is that they don't have role models back home to know what college is and how to do it. But you'll be a great role model for them. But some of you will have first generation students too, and so you just need to know. It's not every single first gen student or every single underrepresented minority student or every single low income student, but statistically speaking, if they're in one of those groups, they're more likely to be lost. And if they're in more than one of those groups, like you combine the factors, in particular if they're first generation and low income, you add on more risk of being lost. Yeah, go ahead.
Would we have those high risk indicators for our students in our class, or is it just we get to kind of figure it out on our own, or will we kind of, when we get our roster, will there be information
That's a great
that y'all
question.
can share with us? So that we can,
It is not on your roster.
okay.
I would love it if it would be, but it is not on your roster. But we can tell you. So if you want to know, we can tell you.
Okay.
More importantly, the students can tell you. And you will have assignments where they will self-identify.
Right.
And in a lot of ways, because of stigma and whatnot, we would rather that they self-identify than for us to tell you. But you will get to know them, and you will understand from the writings that they do, you know, what their risk factors are. I think, and very quickly, probably in the first 2 weeks, you'll start learning those things about them. No, go ahead.
The first assignment is my personal why. Why are they here? And you learn so much that first week from that first assignment.
Yep, they tell you deep, dark secrets, in fact. Because some of them don't have any filters.
And it is, there are boohoo times when you're reading your personal whys. It's pretty deep at times.
It can be, yeah. But you'll find out. But if you just want to know,
Yeah.
we will, Michelle, who you've been in contact with, and Sarah Larson have that data and would be happy to share it with you. Yeah. But just know that if those students need a little extra TLC, need extra care, need extra attention from you in terms of keeping your eyes on them. Not to say that everybody else doesn't too, but statistically speaking, you should just be prepared to focus in your attention on them a little bit. So we have a lot of materials prepared for you that will carry you through the semester. I want to tell you a little bit about how the class was designed and prepared, just so you'll have some background that will help you understand this and give you some understanding of why I'm going to give you some rules of engagement here. We've taught first year seminar for years and years, I think since 2010 maybe, but it didn't go well for a long time because we kind of let every section do its own thing, and it kind of went off the rails a little bit. So like, Meg, if you and I were both taking first year seminar, but I had Professor X and you had Professor Y, there might be nothing in common for you with me, you know, in terms of what we did in class. And that's not what you want a whole first year experience to be. You want it to be something common. The students hated it because they couldn't really understand like what's the point of it, and it was different from, yeah, it wasn't a curriculum that made sense to them. So in 2017, we began revamping it, and we went and did every bit of research we could to use all the best practices in student success, and that's how we engineered the syllabus that you have. And that's how we selected the topics, because we knew these were the risk factors, the things that trip up students, the things that serve as their barriers. And we talked a lot with faculty, we talked a lot with people who had been teaching this class for a long time about how to make it a common experience that was meaningful and engaging to students. The biggest thing that the students and the faculty agreed upon was that it has to be the same across sections, that everybody has to do the same thing. And so what we have done for you is we've created lessons for you. And I'm going to call them canned lessons because I want to really underscore that they're common and they're already pre-prepared for you. We've even gone so far, because so many people who teach this class have never taught before, to write it out as a script. Now, you should never just go in and read this thing. Like, that will be the kiss of death for you as a teacher if you read the script to them.
Oh, no.
But we literally have slides prepared for every lesson. And every slide has a series of notes to you about what to talk about, how to say it, how to present it. Even in the first couple of weeks for new instructors, it says, like, here's about how long you should spend on this topic. And here's some tips about ways you can talk about it. Here's some activities you could do to help your students get into it. You have flexibility as the instructor to take our tips or not, but you have to cover the lesson. Okay, that's the rule of engagement. The content that is there needs to be covered. So you can always add to, and you can always shake up how you deliver it, but the content is the content, and you need never to cut corners with the content, because there are assignments that are already created that all the students in all of the sections are going to do, and if you cut corners, it'll invariably be the one thing that's a question on the assignment that you didn't cover. So make sure that you look ahead at the assignments and you know what it is that students are going to be asked to do. But we have given you wiggle room. So Lynn, help me here. If we designed it so maybe I'm teaching a Monday, Wednesday, Friday class, say, and I've got 3 hours of time. Probably about 2 hours is scripted out. But then you have maybe an hour
About that.
each week where you can go and add in activities, you can add in new content that is related to the topic at hand. You know, you can plan some.
It makes it easier we normally recommend when you take attendance, that it's a question. Something that
fun.
community building, that's getting to know them. And so if you do go off the rail a little bit that morning, when you find out someone has never had a milkshake, and so the whole class is like, okay, what day are we meeting at cookout and what time? You've got time to do that extra 5 minutes of planning of what time are we meeting at cookout so they've had their first milkshake. So you have that little extra time most weeks.
You do. And so you could fill that, bring in some YouTube videos, let's say. You could add a game. You could, you know, say, hey, there was a reading that I want to tell you about that I just went through. Or, hey, did you know? Here's a cool MSU fact, or whatever. Something that will help them be successful. I just ask you to stay kind of on the topic for the week. You know, if the topic is like financial success and you're off talking about politics, it's probably not going to go well, okay? Well, I would just generally say probably don't talk about politics because it won't go well. But, you know, kind of stay on the theme and make sure that you're not counteracting the content that we've provided. So don't add something that completely is the opposite message, but you can always supplement. And in fact, the best instructors, I think, do that. And they really think about like creative ways to kind of get more out of their students on that content. But Lynn is bringing up kind of an important piece, and that is that although we have built you the content, we've built you the slides, we've built you the script and the assignments, a big important piece of this class that will help the students be successful is community building. I think a lot of times, and I don't mean to sound derogatory to my colleagues at all who are faculty, but a lot of times faculty are content focused only. So you take a, I don't know, chemistry class, history class, political science class, and you just get chemistry, history, or political science, right? This is not that class. There is content, but a huge piece of why students stay is because they're bonded to each other or they're bonded to you. And that social experience makes college click for them. You know, they feel like that's what inspires them to come to class when they're tired. That's what makes them like get out in the rain and come, or get out in the snow and come when they don't want to. Or that's what makes them do that assignment, you know, because they don't want to let you down, even though they think it's dumb or they don't want to do it, you know? Like the fact that there is a community that's happening in your class supports them being successful. And so we want you to take time around your content, or even through your content with activities, to help build community at every turn. And then I'm gonna put this out there to say, if you want to, I will encourage you even outside of class to work on community building with them. That is not a requirement, but we have many of our instructors who do stuff, set up activities outside. So like, you know, maybe they say, hey, we are gonna go to cookout after school today, and everybody's gonna get a milkshake. Well, that's not during class time, but it was something that would make a difference to the student, you know? Or maybe there's a hike you wanna do because you're talking about physical health and how important that is to success in college. So you all say, hey, how about Saturday, let's all get together and do a hike. And anybody who wants to come can.
Eagle Fest, I'm gonna be at the door of ADUC at this time. If you don't wanna walk in by yourself, come join us, we'll all go in together.
Yeah. Or if you've got an athlete in your class, you know, maybe you organize a group to go watch them play, you know? So just, that's up to you how much you wanna do it. It's up to you if you do it, when you do it. You know, my rules of engagement here though would be to observe appropriate boundaries with your students so that you are always professional and not getting yourself into tricky situations.
So are we able to offer extra credit for, like, from what I hear, the ball games are very sparse when it comes to fans.
They are.
And that's sad, because back in my day, we loaded that place. We
Yeah.
were loud.
Yeah.
Can we offer extra credit for attending these events?
There is not extra credit in the class,
Oh,
but that doesn't mean that you can't work it into an activity of some type that is for points later. You know,
I'd
like,
to see some people in the fan, where the fans are
Yeah.
supposed to be instead of just seats.
there are plenty of points that are tied to assignments, and so the student is going to have many opportunities to build their grade, and they won't need extra credit to get there. When a student is failing FYS, it's because they're not showing up. It's not because the work is hard. It's all important, but it's not hard, so they won't ever need extra credit. So we made the decision a long time ago not to do extra credit, but you can work it into their assignments. You can work it into the class activities. And you can also provide incentives, if you wish, that are in addition to grades. So in Success Academy, that you may have seen some of the students around today, I mean, they will work their tails off for candy.
Fruit Smiles.
Fruit Smiles, yeah, those that you get at Walmart, Fruit Smiles. So, I mean, those are the kind of things I'd recommend. It sounds a little juvenile, but I'm telling you, they love it.
You
So,
gotta meet them where they are, right?
but anytime you want to work on a community building activity and you need ideas, we have seasoned FYS instructors who have done really creative things, and we'd be happy to share. And in fact, I think, Xavier, don't we have a list already posted?
Yep, it's in the start here area for faculty, and faculty information, I think it's called.
Yep, okay. So we're gonna show you in a minute we have a Blackboard shell where all these materials are that I'm referring to. In fact, I've got it loaded if you wanna turn it on, but we have a lot of resources for you that we've put together, and we just keep adding to it every year. So we probably need to add more right now, in fact. But like, we have some class activities that are just like winners that people have tried before that are kind of there for you in a list. We've got community building activities that you could look at and, you know, consider, hey, would I like to do any of these? in addition to the slides and your notes and all of that kind of stuff. So you have a lot of resources at your fingertips. Again, choose how much you want to delve in. You know, none of that extra stuff is required, but can you put that on the student view first? Let's talk about that. Before we kind of go through this, let me just talk about the structure of what the course looks like, and you can refer to your syllabus there if you want to. But the last 2 pages kind of, I think will give you kind of the overview. We have a topic every week that we will focus on. The first week is like, think of scared freshmen needing to chill out. That's the focus of the first week. Like, you know, basic stuff like where's my building, you know, that sort of thing. Real basic, how do I log into email, you know, just general orientation kind of things. But from there we go topic by topic by topic, the things that are important to the success of a student, and they are timed with what's going on campus. So for example, when it's time to register for classes for spring, that happens right after week 10. So in week 10 we have a lesson about academic advising and about, you know, how to get ready to do registration. The week before that we have a lesson on career exploration, because that's when people are trying to double check that they're in the right major and figure out what they want to do with their lives. You know, so everything is timed. There's a financial aid lesson right before it's time to do the FAFSA form. So everything is like timed out exactly according to what is going on and what they need to know. We deal with mental health about the point where mental health issues spike. You know, we deal with, what else? What's another good example?
Relationships, just as those roommates have had enough of each other.
Yeah. Or when they have to go home to talk to their parents for the first time, and now their relationship with their parents is different than it used to be. Yeah, so everything is kind of spaced out. But what we always have every week is a list of things that the students need to do. And so we'll show you here in a minute what that looks like. The students will always have readings, and those readings are fodder for you ladies to use to help them with their reading skills. Often there are video assignments that they'll have to go watch a video. They will probably always have some kind of an assignment that they will submit. Sometimes those assignments are essays that they will write, and sometimes they are like true, false, multiple choice, and so forth. The true, false, multiple choice, etc. kind of assignments are usually auto-graded, so you don't have to do anything except double check that they did them. But for the essay assignments, you will have to go in and read them, and we have a rubric that you will use to determine how many points to give them. But we always ask you to give them feedback, and the richer the feedback, the better. And we'll talk to you, I think, next time about how to give feedback, because there is an art to it and a way to do it that promotes success, and then there's a way to do it that beats students down. So we want you to do it the artful way that promotes student success. But we want you to give feedback because the whole idea behind student success is that it's formative. When we give feedback, they get better. We give more feedback, they get even better. We give more feedback, they get even better. So if you don't give them the rich feedback, they're not going to know, how should I do a better job next time? How could I be more successful? So we'll show you what that looks like here in a sec. But once you assign those points, then those points go into the grade book, and you will eventually, you know, add up the points and determine what the student's grade is. Okay, so that'll be part of your responsibility. You will assign midterm grades, and you will assign final grades based on the points that they've earned in the class. And if they are starting at any point, week 2, week 5, week 9, whatever it is, to worry you because they're either not engaging, not doing their work, having mental health issues, telling you that they've got trouble in their classes, and on, then what we're going to ask you to do is to alert our Office of Retention staff which would include Lynn and some other folks, Michelle, a guest we have joined us here in the back, Sarah. It will alert them that the student needs even more TLC than you're providing in the class. And then we will wrap services around that student and try to do what we can to help them through whatever issue they're facing. So that process we'll go over in a little bit more detail. I think it's next week that we talk about that, but that'll be part of your responsibility as part of the structure of the course too. You're going to alert us when you've got a student who's fallen through the cracks in any way.
Lauren, before I leave, because I'm getting ready to tag Sarah and tag out here.
Tag out, yeah.
You all will be getting an email from me. Last semester, fall semester, I was able to make it to right around 28 of the FYS courses to present about the Tutoring and Learning Center. First 2 weeks, I'm putting my tutors on, we've got this. We are going to try to make it to as many as possible those first couple of weeks so that the students are aware this is available, this is free, this is how I get on. So watch for an email, and it's just going to ask, what would be a good time for you, and hopefully me or one of my tutors will be able to work that within your schedule and have a quick, it only takes 10 to 15 minutes for us to give a quick spiel of this is what you do. So.
Thank you.
I'm tagging Sarah out.
Well, so Xavier's pulled up the Blackboard shell. So every single one of you is going to get a Blackboard shell, and they're all going to be the same. And that's because Xavier is a miracle worker, and he makes them all. We have a really great team of faculty and staff who work together to create all of the lessons. They've made the slides and put together all of the content, made the assignments, that kind of thing. And every year we go through it and we update it with whatever's going on in the world and whatever's going on campus. That's what we're doing right now, which is why your syllabus says draft, because we have the finishing touches to put on it. But once we finish making all the updates, we send it all to Xavier, and he puts it in a Blackboard shell, and then he copies it to every single one of you. So you all have the same thing. And then for you reading folks, he'll add the extra reading content into those shells. So what you see up on the screen is last fall's version of that. So ours will be slightly different because we'll update it a little bit. But this is what the student sees, not what the instructor sees. So this is the welcome page or the landing page. Oh wait, you did put it in 2022, didn't you?
I did, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's okay. Could you go back to 2021 because it has all the weeks?
Absolutely.
It'll be like 1,000 shells. So. There you go. Okay. So this is where the students land. It's a welcome page, and it has a little welcome video, and just kind of tells them we're excited to have them, etc. But then they have first steps, things that they could do, and they always go to the Start Here button first, right? So see here, there's the Start Here button that he's hovering over. You would go to Start Here, right, if you saw that. So that's why we name it that. But we ask the students to go there, and that kind of gives them an orientation to what is going to happen. It gives them an orientation to how to use this site. Okay? So, Xavier, you want to kind of tell them more about this, and then I'll add in.
Okay, so the Start Here area for students is basically the same thing as your first day in class. Even if you've never taught before, I'm sure you've been in college classes where the very first day we're going to go over the syllabus and everything you need to know about the course, how to get into contact with the instructor, and so on. That's the same thing as the Start Here for your class. So your first day, you're going to want to go over this. The first line is just an introduction to the Start Here area, explaining what it is. Course syllabus is listed here. This is where your syllabus will be. This is important for you to know because once you receive your copy of the course. You can download that syllabus, update it with your information, and then put it right back here.
We'll tell you how to do that.
Yes. Everything that's in the syllabus is listed underneath here, so you don't have to open it necessarily to describe it, though you probably should. That's there for their quick reference. So if they need to remember where to find this information, they can quickly come and start here and look through that list and know that's where to find what it is they're looking for.
And just FYI, most of them have never heard the word syllabus.
Yes.
So you will have to explain what a syllabus is.
Yep. These kids are closer to high schoolers than they are college students in every way. We have the course objectives here. This is important because you're basically explaining what they're going to accomplish, what they're going to be able to do once the course is over. In other words, the importance of what we're going to be going through. And it kind of is think of it like a movie trailer for what kind of experiences they're going to have. Navigating the course, this just explains what each of the buttons do on the left side. It's important for them to know so that whenever they come here, and they will come here quite frequently, so they'll know how to navigate through the course without you present. How to get help, this covers multiple different things. So the instructor, you can ask your instructor questions about educational content in the course. If they're having Blackboard issues, that's the number to call the help desk. If they need tutoring, that's the number to call the tutoring. And accessibility, so if they have any disability needs, they can call the accessibility office. There's technology accessibility information. There are 3 required technologies for this course, which is Blackboard, Adobe Acrobat, and Microsoft Office. They'll need to have, if they have to have accommodations, or if they have disabilities and they need to see the disability statements, this is where you would find that information. Last is etiquette. This is how they're supposed to act within the class. It covers things about being polite, not being antagonistic, not using all caps when speaking. That's considered shouting and e-speak. Those kind of things. It's a good thing to go over and kind of maybe head off a little bit of behavioral issues to begin with. Especially important in an online version. But since they'll be doing a lot of assignments using Blackboard, it's also a good idea for you still to go over this content because they may have discussions, they may have essays, and you want them to be professional. And we also have some tutorials here. So they'll be submitting assignments. So this video tutorial will explain how to do that. And how to check your grades once you have grades. And this is another good reason to go over the Start Here area with your students to explain. You're going to be submitting assignments. And if you don't know how to do that, the first step is to come back to Start Here and ask your questions here first. And then, after that, you can look at the support numbers. Any questions about the Start Here area?
So your students will wing it first and then go to resources if they couldn't figure it out. It's good for you to train them right up front that that's not the best tactic. But that's what they do. You know, that any email you send them, they're not going to read it, or if they do, they're going to scan it for keywords, and maybe they picked up on something. You need to train them, no, read it. Anything that is prepared for them like this in depth, you need to make sure you're teaching them to go ahead and use those resources. That it's not their natural tendency. They've learned shortcuts, and they will absolutely try to use the shortcuts. You go back up to the menu there. Okay, so you'll notice that under the Start Here area is the instructor and peer leader. So I want to tell you a little bit about, oh, there's nothing there. Oh, because this one didn't have an instructor. This is a fake shell. So you're the instructor. If you click on this, normally there's just a little thing where you can put your picture and your contact information so that if they couldn't remember how to get up with you, they could click there and find a path to your phone number, to your email, etc. Chances of them calling you are very slim. They should, because they have complicated issues they need to talk to you about, but they're probably going to email you, or they'll try to text you or something. And we have a mechanism for that if we want to do that. But we also have, for every class, a peer leader who is assigned. And a peer leader is usually an advanced undergraduate, probably a junior or senior. There may be a few sophomores, but they've been through this course. They are seasoned students. They understand how things work, and generally they have been successful. And so they are there to support you by offering the student perspective on the things that we're talking about. And they can help lead activities. They can help check in with students and support them outside of class. And they might be the ones who organize the trip to the basketball game or whatever it is, if you can't do it or you don't want to, do those outside of class things. But every section will have one. And our guest back here, Sarah, is the lead for the peer leaders. So she will be assigning those students to your class and telling you who they are. And then she can help kind of you figure ways to use them if you need guidance or if you need examples of ways they've been used in the past. Do you want to add anything, Sarah, about that?
I just shamelessly harass my peer leader the entire time during class. If the students aren't talking, I'll say, Matthew, what do you think? And then I'll make him start talking, and then I'll be like, guys, don't leave me out here. I'm sure you have an opinion. So, but he's also the one, like, if students miss class, I like to reach out to them, but I understand that if the instructor reaches out every time, that might be a little, threatening or over the top. But Matthew, you can shoot him a text and say, hey, we missed you in class. Is everything okay? And so he does that the first time, and then I follow up the second time in a more formal way. And sometimes it's I'm running late, all that kind of stuff. So
Well, sometimes the peer saying it matters more to them than you saying it. They respond more to peer than authority sometimes.
Yes.
So.
I'd like to pipe in here.
Yeah.
What I like to do with my peer leader is I will look at what the assessment is for the week, and I will try to engage the peer leader with questions similar to what they'll see in the assessment. So, for example, in week 1, they'll be asked their personal why. Why are you at college? What will you gain by being here? What will you lose by not being here? So, during the sessions, I'll actually talk to the peer leader and ask them questions, if not identical to that, very similar, so that the students can hear those questions and start thinking to themselves about the answers before they even see the assessment.
Yeah, so the peer leader can serve as an example of what a successful student will do. And that's really helpful because especially, Gabriel, in your class, the first gen students, they don't have a model. So that peer leader will be that model in addition to you and everybody, that they're coming in contact with on campus. Is her peer leader a first gen student? Do you remember?
it will be, yes.
It will be, okay. Yeah. And I think, Leslie, yours is a Heron student, right?
Will be here.
It will. So,
TBA.
yeah, okay. And we try, when we have a special section, we try to always have the peer leader be somebody who's been in that boat before. So, in any case, the thing that I think is important here is that this is the contact place for your peer leader too. So both of you will add a profile here. Xavier just did that while we were talking. It's really easy. You can add a picture, etc. We encourage you, and you'll get a little bit more information and guidance about this soon. I don't know, Sarah, if you know when, but we encourage you to make a welcome video for the students that you can distribute to them before the class starts. And this might be a place you could link out to that as well. And that's just to, let them see a little bit of like, what are they getting into with you and what kind of a person are you, so that they feel comfortable when they start. They know something about what's about to happen. So below where the links are to you and your peer leader info, then what you'll see, let's see if we can get back, is the weekly lessons. And we do these in order of the weeks, but they're backwards. And that's because what happens is we only release the current week to the students, and they can see anything that happened beforehand below it, but the current week is always on top. So if it's week 3, you can see 3 at the top, then 2 and 1 are still available. But they can't see anything that's coming up. That's because they tend to want to kind of get ahead a little bit in ways that will mess up what we want to do. So I don't know, we wanna pick a good week just as an example. Okay, so this is at the top of every week, and this is the student's guide, but it's also your guide. So every week, the students see what are the objectives for the week. These always tie to the objectives of the course. And then they see a to-do list. So these are the things that the student must do in order to be successful. So you'll see that the first thing is they need to do a reading, they have to read the syllabus. The second thing is they're gonna read the Eagle Student Handbook, and then they have an assignment as their third thing. And this is the old one, we're not gonna have a goose chase, we're gonna have an eagle chase. But, and then all of the tools that they need to accomplish those to-dos are below. So they need to read the syllabus is there. That's a link where it says reading, FYS syllabus. The reading, Eagle Student Handbook, that they just click in to that. And the assignment is down here, that they click into the assignment. Okay, so everything is at their fingertips. They don't have to go anywhere else. Every bit of content is there. We do not have a book for this class because we're trying as an equity measure to make sure that we don't add any expense to be able to have access to the success information. So there is a course fee, by the way, that every student pays, but there is no book. All of this is open source content. So you'll always have links to what they need to see and do. So this looks like what, week 2? Okay. So in week 2, they're going to do a writing assignment. That goose chase, or in our case, it'll be an eagle chase. That's a scavenger hunt that they're going to do to learn where the buildings are on campus. Okay, so that was week 1. So easy activity. It's hard to fail that one, right?
Yep,
So,
they just have to go take a picture.
yeah.
With
They
the group
snapshot.
in front of it,
You know,
selfies,
yeah.
appropriate, tell them to be appropriate.
Because they might not be,
Yes.
because their filters are different from ours, right?
Yep.
But in week 2, they actually write an essay. And this is that why assignment, your personal why that Lynn was talking about. And so it will tell them, you know, here's your guidelines at the top. This is like a legit essay. You know, you actually have to write it. It shouldn't be just a text format like you would send a text. You know, it should be a certain length, you know, that kind of thing. It'll tell them how is it going to be graded. So there's the rubric that we're going to use, so they know up front what the rules are and how to get the points, right? And then below is the prompt that they will actually respond to when they write. Okay, that's the rubric. Well, it's kind of hard to read, but it tells them if you want to get 40 points, this is what your essay should look like. If you want to get 30, here's what your essay should look like. If you want to get 20, here's what it will look like. So, I mean, there shouldn't be any question about what it is they're supposed to do. But this is also how you will grade it. So you're going to read their essay and you're going to match it to one of these categories and assign the points. So we've taken the same prompt that they just saw in Blackboard and put it on that rubric so that it matches. But you can see it there. There's 5 pieces that they have to write about in their essay. Does that make sense? Yeah, Steph.
So are we presenting this like if we do a Monday, Wednesday, Friday class? Are we talking about this on Monday and then the assignments due by the end of the week? Okay.
They always have until the weekend to do it, yeah. And they will. They will wait until, what time is it due? 11:59?
11:59.
Yeah, 11:59 on Sunday. So at, 11:30, they're gonna open it and do it.
Also, under the to-do list, anytime there's an activity that's due, it'll be listed here, but it'll always say the same thing.
Yep.
Except for a few instances where there's a couple of weeks they have to work on, it will say due next Sunday at 11.
Yeah, yeah. So, but they can always work on it through Sunday. So you should plan time early the next week to grade it. Monday, Tuesday, probably. The next week is when you'll want to get in there. Because even if you try to grade it early, they will not get it done early. It just doesn't happen. So we do have a partner in the library that is doing some of our instruction. And it's largely to support what Meg will be getting into later, which is like how to do research for papers, how to do research for projects, that kind of thing. So librarians are going to teach that, so you don't have to. So we asked them to sign up for the lessons that they're gonna do with them, and so that's what this last piece is for week 2. But every week is kind of set up the same: to-do list, activities, resources, assignments. Yeah.
For the assignments, I didn't see anything in the draft syllabus for late work, what that looks like for points. Is it just if it's late you get nothing, or is that kind of per, like, our discretion, which is conjecture about what that looks like?
I would say it's your discretion. However, the majority of instructors grade it like the rubric says. So even if it's late, most instructors still
Okay,
grade it
okay.
according to the point structure.
Okay.
But
I just
if
wanted
you want to
know.
lay down the law, lay down the law.
No, I just didn't see it in here, and so I wasn't sure if it was like just late work isn't accepted or. Like,
Yeah, we used to have, before COVID, we had a lot more strict policy about that. But during COVID, it got so complicated because people would be out for quarantine and, and so we didn't put it in. So it will be up to you.
This is another great way you can use your peer leader, because they can see the grade book as well. And so I'll have Matthew say, hey, I see you haven't turned in your assignment yet. And so he'll send out those GroupMe messages to the individual students. So it's just like a nudge. Hey, Sarah hasn't graded it yet, but I saw you didn't turn it in. So that's just a way to nudge them. But then at some point, like after midterms, like I won't take anything from before midterms.
Okay.
So like I have a drop dead date. I'm not gonna take week 1 on week 16.
That was kind of
But
where I was getting.
that's
like,
what I
if we push
do.
everything off until finals week.
Yeah.
Like,
But I do have some of the instructors who are like, just get it in, I'll grade it.
Yeah, just get it
So
in, get it in.
your call
Yeah.
on that. Yeah, Andrew?
Is Level Up incorporated in the curriculum?
It is. It's in the career week.
I was gonna say, we're happy to stop by if we can, the hips.
Yeah,
If you
They would
ever
love
need
to.
support.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about Level Up probably next week, but, yeah, you can always have guest speakers come in and talk about things that are going on campus, offices, support services, et cetera.
Will we be able to see, we're the second part, and our part is a total of 500 points. Will we be able to see whoever's teaching the first part of our class? Will it be one grade book?
One grade book, yes.
Okay, so it will be a total, the 1,500 points.
Yeah, so the FYS classes have 1,000 points.
Mhm.
If you're teaching an E class, you have 1,000 points and the reading folks have 500 to
And-
work with, for a total of 1,500. But if you're just in a regular old FYS class, you have 1,000 points total for the semester. That makes grade calculation at the end of the semester super easy. We did it that way on purpose. But, to your late work question, if a student is sitting there at a 78%, and if they just did that one assignment, they could get a B. We're just kind of like, come on, just engage, just do it. But that's kind of a lesson that we use. We say like, in the future, no one's going to be sitting here holding your hand, but I want you to see what could happen here. If you just did this extra assignment, what could happen? You could get a whole nother letter grade, and then maybe you'll be on the dean's list or whatever. And so we kind of use it as a mechanism for molding and shaping future behavior. If you think of it like they're your clay and you're sculpting them, right, into future successful college students. So sometimes if you take a hard line, like you're just cutting them off from future success. So you have to decide for yourself, like, what's your philosophy going to be about that? And if it's me, like I usually am, I try to lay down the law to a certain extent to teach them the discipline of that, but then I try to say like, here's an opportunity because I think you could be successful. So, anyway, you want to show any more examples here?
Just that there are, like you said, the content is always available, such as readings, video presentations, and any kind of activities are always housed in the same place. And in some cases, there are supplemental resources that aren't necessary, but they are present. So in this case, we're talking about note-taking. So there are examples of reporting on method and counter organization options.
So those would be things that would just be helpful to students.
That'd be things we could pick up on.
Sure. Yeah.
I have learned myself, I have learned a great deal from this class. My credit score has increased because of this class.
Yeah, because 4 weeks of
That's
this
no
class is
joke.
financial literacy.
Yeah, that's so important.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Could you switch over to the instructor view? Because this is where the juicy stuff is for you. All right, so up at the top, actually, can you scroll back up? There's this little area. This is where we dump things that prior instructors have felt were helpful resources for you. We haven't probably updated this in a little bit, so we'll put a call out for things from instructors. You know, what do you have that would be helpful, and then we'll put things here. But each we try to organize it into folders so that you won't be overwhelmed. But like this for you is your guide. The students can't see this section. It's just for you. But if you need to know, like, what do you do first in a class? You go here yourself and click and go like, okay, what are my instructions? What should I be thinking about? If you don't know how to do Blackboard stuff, like if you don't know how to grade something or post a grade or give feedback, your tutorials are here that will teach you how to do everything that you need to do. Affinity activities are about community building because we're trying to create affinity between the student and the other students, between the student and you, and between the student and the institution. So these are all activities that will help you make the student feel warm and fuzzy about everything that we're doing. So you have some icebreakers there, you have some activities that you could try, just some resources for that. And that icebreakers document has like, what, 100, 200 different things you could try in class. So these are all just things that you could see that the student can't see. Yeah, so all of these are just ideas. So this will be up to your personal preference. I personally hate icebreakers with a passion, but Sarah Larson is the queen of icebreakers.
I hate icebreakers. I cringe. Like if we did an icebreaker today, I'd be like, ugh. But they're so important.
But she is
So
dang good at it, and so
Yes,
if you want
I do them, but I grumble
come to her
every
class
time.
and watch. She is like a master of it.
At least you can be like, I know this is awful, but
Yes.
Yeah.
there's a good reason we do. Yeah,
But
but
we-
I'm in it with you.
The first few weeks we put in ideas in the script for you, and you can take them or leave them. But we put ideas there of ones that have worked well for people, so that it's already at your fingertips. Instructors at the top of your area, and the students don't see this, will have all of the resources you need for the week. So this is before the to-do list for the students. Okay, you will always have the PowerPoints that you're going to use in class. Underneath it will have your print notes, and that's the script. Okay, so you're going to want to read this probably the week before you have to give the presentation, so that you can kind of get to know it and get off book, as they say in the theater. And this is what it looks like. You know, it says, okay, here's what you got to think about beforehand. Here's what you got to cover. Here's assignments to give. Here's what you say on this slide. Here's what you say on this slide. I mean, it literally is all scripted out for you. Yeah.
This is great.
So a new person coming in to teach this can do the same as what everybody else is doing without a ton of prep, but you will have to read through it and figure out like, okay, what's my mission? How am I going to personalize this and make it comfortable to me? Because the way you will teach it might not be the same way I would. Some of our instructors like to mix up the order of the slides because it doesn't gel for them. I don't love that, but cool, whatever you need to do. And some people, again, want to add things, so they go in and put their own, spin on this, and that's fine. Just make sure the content that's there is the content you cover. And then we have things like instructions for you about what you need to tell your students about the activities. So like last year, we did a goose chase instead of an eagle chase, and it had the instructions on it. So here's what you do to do a goose chase.
And often the notes will reference.
Yeah. And so like we're gonna talk about the Eagle Handbook in week 1, so here's some review questions you can use in class that will help you discuss that. We have a little game that we play about the syllabus. It's like a quiz show kind of game called the Syllabus Challenge. So there's slides for that if you want to do that. So everything's kind of already been prepared for you. And every week there'll be an area that you go to, probably, hopefully a week in advance. And the reason you want to go to it a week in advance is like, let's say you teach on Tuesday. If you look at it Tuesday the week before, then not only do you have time to get ready, but you have time to talk to your peer leader about what you want them to do next week. So you'll want to work in like a little weekly meeting with your peer leader to say, okay, let's talk about next week. What are you going to do? What am I going to do? What do we need to get ready in preparation? And if you haven't looked at it in a week in advance, you won't have time to do that. You'll be like doing it on the fly and it won't be quite as smooth.
Gives you time to think about the subject too before you get into class.
Xavier, do we have a timeline on when they're going to get this kind of stuff?
I've begun work on the updates this morning. Do you remember if we're here? I will find out hopefully, but it'll probably be done early next week.
So we're going to launch out to you as much that is ready as we can. The e-classes, you all will have to help us know when we're going to be able to launch out the weeks. But we'll put out as much as we can. You can always see all of those weeks, even if the students can't. So you could work ahead if you want to.
Do they publish automatically for students, or do you do that manually?
Automatically. So these weeks right here, for example, let me actually go into this. Let's take a look at the one that I've been working on. Okay, so these you'll notice there's a little icon next to each of these. That means that it's hidden. And they're hidden by date. So the first date in here, 8/29, for example, that will become available to them at the first minute of that day. In some of these cases, I had opened up so that we could see them from a student's perspective. So this is what it'll look like essentially for them. They'll have a few, and then they won't have anything else. But once the date pops up, it'll be right up on top.
So at midnight. Yeah. Midnight in 1 second. There it is.
I'm sure they'll anxiously wait
I'm
to
sure.
open it up.
Count the minutes.
Like, I can't wait, just any second now.
You're staying up till midnight to check it, aren't you?
That's right.
But you'll be able to see it all, and you'll be able to start preparing. Xavier, for the regular class, are we going to launch the whole thing, or are we going to launch a few weeks at a time?
Right now, I have, I believe, up to week 12, and I believe that we might get the rest early next week, so I'm thinking we're going to have the whole thing.
Okay.
I
And so
would
no
like to
pressure to
not-
you ladies, but just as soon as you can get us your stuff, we'll add it in. So in some semesters, we just launch like, say, 6 weeks at a time because we're still kind of tweaking, but most instructors don't like that about the way that it works, so we're trying to do a little bit more timely. And some people will make like a notebook where they print out all those note pages for themselves so they can write on it or whatever. Some people like to work electronic. That's totally up to you. There's not a budget for you to print stuff, so that's your call personally if you want to do that. But you know your preference on how you like to work. So if you want to make a notebook for yourself, cool. I do because I'm a person who likes to make notes on things, but or at least I did when I was in the classroom more. So, your call. Anything else, Xavier, on this you want to show them?
There's some more advanced things, but I think we can talk about that next week.
Okay. So we will tell you more about how to give feedback and how to grade, and how to input, things like that on here. Kind of philosophy about how to grade, I think is important for you to know. At least for my part today, because I'm going to tag off to Sarah and give her the baton here in a minute. I think it's just important to know that this class isn't just about promoting retention in the first year. What happens is that we usually are most at risk of losing students in the first year. But if they get a good foundation, they're more likely to stay. So usually, nationwide, about 30% of students are lost in the first year, about 10% more are lost in the second year, about 10% more are lost in the third year, and about 5% more are lost in the last year. So our goal is to at least keep it that way, if not do better. Because if you think about like a class of 1,100, which is kind of average for us, I figured this out today, only 462 graduate. So think about all those students who didn't, like who slipped through the cracks. If we don't lay that strong foundation for them, it'll be less than that. But what if we laid a strong foundation and it could be more than that graduating, right? That's more positive impact that we can have. And again, it doesn't just affect that student, it affects you and me, it affects our community, it affects our institution. So like it's really important that we try to give these students every leg up that they can. And if they come from one of those at-risk groups, it just takes extra energy to do that. And so I don't want to scare you off, but you've signed on for a really important mission. And I'm thrilled that you're here, and I want to do everything I can to support you. So as Sarah talks today about some things that you can do in the classroom that will help you get there, I just want you to kind of start thinking about what questions you have, so all of us who are working on this team can support you. And maybe you can let us know what those questions are so we can address them in our next training. And then even next week, and we're going to have a learning community for you across the entire semester so that any questions that come up or any kind of support we have to offer each other, we have a place that we will be able to go and take advantage of each other's knowledge. So you're now a part of a very elite team. I feel like we're in a movie. You're part of an elite team. But the greatest thing to me is to be able to come back to you and tell you that it worked. And you know, as I exit, I'm just going to say our retention rate this year is not going to be great because our students were starting out with terrible disadvantages through COVID. But our graduation rates are going to be up, and they're up substantially. So we have saved, if you will, in this process, hundreds of students. When you see, come November, our graduation rates published, it's about 5% up right now from what it was before we started this class the way it is now. So if you think about how many students that is who are now going to have that advantage, whose communities are going to have the advantage, this is worth doing. Even if it's hard, it's worth doing. So I'm thrilled to have you guys on the team. But I do think we probably want to take a little break, so you have a minute to run to the restroom or stretch your legs, and then I think we're going to talk a little more nuts and bolts about classroom management and some of that stuff. And I'm going to exit because my children are having their 6th grade vaccines and my husband can't handle needles. So I'm going to go take them to their doctor's appointment and keep him from passing out in the doctor's office.
Needles are scary.
They are scary. But you're in good hands with Sarah. Sarah, we didn't really introduce you, so maybe when you kick off, you can talk about who you are and why you're here.
Okay.
Sound good? All right, and I will see you all back on Tuesday, okay?
It's 2:22, so you want to come back at